G'day guys, got a beautiful morning here for the drive into work, and I thought we would have a little bit of a talk about consistency with your training, and I think to some extent whatever your hobbies are, this will apply. So consistency is one of those things that it gets mentioned a lot, but it doesn't get emphasized. I think as viewers, as consumers on YouTube, we're guilty of contributing to this. We don't ask people questions about how to be more consistent. We ask people questions about, how many reps, how many sets, which exercises, how much volume in a week, what sort of training frequency. These are the details that we like to obsess about, and consistency, it's a bit like rep quality. It's one of those things that's very important, and it just it gets lost in the mix a bit. So I mean, there is a reason for that. It's not that sexy thing. But it is foundational. It is fundamental. And if you listen to people who know what they're talking about, they will tell you that. But then they will go on to talk about other more interesting things, and so we lose it a little bit. So what is there to say about consistency? If you're getting started with a new thing, or if you've kind of reached that point where you've been a beginner, you've kind of worked out how to train or how to practice, but you're now not sure how to make that progress to take you to the next level, consistency is the problem that you're trying to solve, right? It really is the main thing. And all of the other variables, your frequency, your exercise selection, your volume, all of that, you need to think about it as being in service of achieving consistency. Because once you've achieved that consistency, everything else is going to fall into place. You're going to start making good progress. And if you can't achieve consistency, all that's going to happen is that you will keep coming up with, plans, maybe good plans, that you'll fail to implement. So that's the rub. So that's why we're talking about it. And it is like quality, right? It's one of those things that gets taken for granted. You say, yeah, of course, start with consistency, and then once you've got consistency locked in, now let's talk about all the interesting shit. Let's talk about frequency. Let's talk about which exercises you're going to do. Let's work out a great big exercise tier list, and have arguments about the most superior type of curls. So the answer to all of that, right? How many times a week, which exercises, which rep and set configurations. For most people, the answer to that is going to be whatever gets you into the gym consistently. So I do want to underline that. I also want to give some practical advice on how to achieve being more consistent. And again, it's not that I want to flip the script a little bit, right? Yeah, sets, reps, frequency, exercise selection. You have to have a baseline understanding of those things. And now that I've said that, which is my disclaimer, I'm going to go on to talk about consistency. Fatigue is very important to consistency. It's very hard to go to the lab right? And write down your exercise program. And by pulling things out of your own head, right, making sure that you've got the right number of sets per muscle group or what have you, and to arrive at something that is a good fit for your body. You're likely to overshoot. Most people do. It's a lot easier to add to a program than to subtract. If you don't overshoot, if you undershoot, then when you end up at the gym, you'll get the feeling that, oh, I could be doing more, and then add too much and fall off the wagon, right? Your gains really start to accumulate when you can string a large number of good weeks together. It's not about having a good workout. It's not about having a good week. It's about how do I string together a large number of successful weeks into a really solid block of training. And you'll hear other people talk about this as well, that when they really make gains, it's when everything just lines up week after week after week, and you just get into such a rhythm with it. And getting into a rhythm with it requires that week to week you're pretty well recovered. It means that week to week the exercises that you've selected continue to interest you for whatever your goals are. So for myself, I know that my program, it has to have some strength work in there. I have to have some lifts where I'm chasing numbers, or I just get bored. I lose interest in the program, right? So is high reps or low reps better? Well, guess what? For me, I get bored if I don't have some low rep work in there, so that has to go in there. That is what is best for hypertrophy for me. The other thing that I like to do is to go in and with my accessories to chase a sick pump. So I don't do anything in the 8 to 10 rep range. I'm either doing heavy lifts or I'm doing like 15 to 20, right? That is what works for me. That's what excites me. That's what gets me into the gym, day after day, week after week. So that's the answer to that question, right? And you have to build up to that, right? So when you're in the lab working out your program, start low, right? There's been a lot of talk about minimalist training, maximalist training. You can eventually work out what your maximum is, and I think that it's a good idea to have a good understanding of where that is, but that is not where you should start when you're working out your program for yourself. You should start with something that's kind of close to the bare minimum, and then very slowly build up from there. Go and hit that program, do it for a couple of weeks, and make sure that you're feeling good at the end of the week, right? Good enough at the end of the week that you can go in and hit it again the next week. All right. That's what I'm going to say about programming. The other thing that I want to mention, I like to do full body training. I do find that I seem to recover better if I've only hit one or two body parts in a workout. Seems to be less fatiguing to the overall system, but I don't enjoy training that way. I like training full body, so that's what I do. And if that is what you want to do, in my experience, and Faz Lifts says this as well, you want to have heavy, medium, and light days. Having a light day in the gym is, in my experience, very important to recovery, which is very important to consistency. It's a day that you go in and you get blood into the muscle. You can be doing that in a way that's cardio, if you like GPP. I don't enjoy that. I like to go in and just do not too many sets, it's a great tip. And you do all your heavy work on a single day, and then that's your big day. The rest of your workouts during that week you kind of spend recovering from that. All right. I want to make a point about progression, which is that it's tempting to think about progression just per set or per exercise, right? So did I achieve did I achieve my rep target on this set? Or, am I ready to progress weight on this particular set within this particular exercise? If you're doing straight sets, you might realize that you need to have achieved your rep goal on multiple sets before you want to progress weight. Here's how I think about progression. Anytime I add anything to a set, I'm adding fatigue to my week. So I want to have progressed on several lifts, by which I mean at the end of those sets, I'm feeling still kind of good. It hasn't gotten too hard at the end of those sets. I want to have made progress on several exercises on different days of the week before I add anything to any of them, because I want to be really sure that I've mastered that amount of weekly fatigue before I add any more fatigue to the week, right? So as soon as you become fatigued, you're done, right? You're gonna miss a day, or you're gonna have a shit workout, and you're not gonna be in a position to really string together that series of high quality workouts. So that's another idea for how to manage progression sort of within the week, or within your exercises. I think those are the main points, right? So make consistency your goal. You can have other goals, right? I've got some strength goals, I've got some hypertrophy goals. They kind of go into the mix when I'm designing the program, but the principle of what you're trying to achieve, the problem that you're trying to solve, is consistency. And that means high quality workouts, high quality weeks, high quality months, right? Within that, you really have to manage your fatigue. There's a lot of tips and tricks on how to do that. When you're progressing, you want to make sure that you're not overloading yourself relative to the entire week, so that you're fresh for the next week, so that you can have another great week in the gym. It's a big one. And just another tidbit of advice is that if you're doing full body training, which I like to do, having light, medium, and heavy days is absolutely the way to go. That might also be helpful with other splits. I haven't experimented with it, so if that's what you're running, that is something for you to check out. All right, that's it for this morning. Thank you, everybody, and we'll talk next time.